Fellas, ladies, and all good people around the world, we are back at it here inside of Destiny because it is time for a brand new season. That means tons of new loot, and we're going to be showing every exotic and weapon that you can get in Season 18. So you're prepared, you know what to do, you know what to check off your list, and what god rolls to look for. First of all, we're going to kick it off with the exotic auto rifle that can only be gotten when you pre-purchase the Lightfall expansion. This auto rifle, the Quicksilver Storm, shoots tiny little micro rockets, and once it charges up and you get the Grenade Chaser trait to proc, you reload and then it turns your next shot into a homing micro missile, very similar to the Mountaintop. So think of this as like an auto rifle that you can charge up and get Mountaintop shots with. Now, before any of you go to the corner and start weeping because Mountaintop is sort of back, remember it takes quite a few shots to actually proc the grenade's prepped trait. And basically, you have to keep your shots on one singular target. If you shoot different targets, it will reset. Now, one really cool thing about this is that you can actually charge up your grenades and you can have multiple in the slots. You'll have to reload every single time, and it is actually a lot of fun to use. Remember, that is a Lightfall pre-order item. Next up, we've got the season exotic, the Delicate Tomb Fusion Rifle. The trait is fire a wide horizontal spread when shot from the hip. Final blows with this weapon have a chance to generate ionic traces. Powerful foes and opposing guardians always generate ionic traces. With arc builds, this could be absolutely insane. Now, the weapon itself is not actually the thing that's broken. It's the fact that it allows your arc abilities to start chaining together and getting some really nice synergy together, especially if you're using Amplify and things like that. It's very, very strong. When you get the catalyst slotted in, when you collect ionic traces, it partially reloads the magazine. So you can basically continue to chain things together, really tying together the arc synergy. This is one you should definitely make sure you practice with. Again, it really enhances your arc abilities, so it is a lot of fun to use. Again, not a broken exotic, but really good for Arc 3.0. Now, moving right along, we are going to get into the season of the Plunder weapons that you can get. These are all craftable weapons, and you get them from completing the core seasonal loop, and that's the catch crashes, the expeditions, the treasure hunts, and things like that. They all come with the origin trait Right Hook, where when you deal melee damage, it gives this weapon increased target acquisition and range for a short period of time, and then when you deal melee damage, again, it extends the effect. A really cool perk to chain together with Arc 3.0. So with that, let's get to these weapons. First of all, we have the Tarnished Metal Scout Rifle. Of course, it is Arc, which makes sense for this season, plus there's some really good perks on it. It is a lightweight frame, and with the buffs to scouts, this could be a real nice pick. We've got rapid hit, we've got 4 times a charm, shoot to loot, lots of really cool, interesting perks, explosive payload, and the Volt Shot trait, where when you reload this weapon after defeating a target, it overcharges the weapon, causing it to jolt. So a lot of really good perks on this. Again, this is craftable, so it will be a nice thing to put into your golf bag of weapons. Moving right along, we've got the Blood Feud Submachine Gun, which is a stasis aggressive frame. Depending on the range that you get, this could be really strong, especially chain it together with that Right Hook perk. For those people who love Headstone like I do and PvE players, this does allow you to proc that pretty easily. And for all those people who are looking for a way to combat Arc 3.0, Stasis slows things down. This is our first weapon that comes with Pugilist, where final blows with the weapon grant melee energy, and you can continue chaining that together, which is really, really nice. It has a lot of really good perk combinations. The real trick here is going to be making sure that you get one weapon that has a lot of range on it. Well-rounded might be a good perk for that if you're looking to extend your range. For those sidearm enthusiasts, we have the rapid fire frame Brigand's Law. In general, these rapid fire frames don't do too well inside of the Crucible, but you might have some fun inside of PvE using this with the Right Hook perk. Now, that being said, there are some cool traits here, like the Rangefinder perk over here. It also has Volt Shot. Again, we've seen that before. Plus a decent amount of things in the third column. Is this going to stand out versus other sidearms? Only time will tell. I don't think so necessarily, but it could be a nice thing to use inside of PvE, especially if you really like leaning on sidearms. Moving right along, we've got the No Reprieve shotgun, and if there was anything that looked like a pirate shotgun, this is it. And it is a pinpoint slug frame, and it is stasis as well, which allows for some interesting combinations. It does come with snapshot, enhanced snapshot no less, as well as headstone, and plus surplus, again, might be a very, very good contender depending on how you do with the range. And if you're comfortable using slug shotguns, this gives you a lot more options because this goes in the kinetic slot, which if you want to use some energy weapons, like something like a palindrome, could be really strong. I'm going to be looking for that high range surplus snapshot roll for Crucible, and I suggest you do too. Next up, we have an Arc Linear, the Sail Spy Pitch Glass. I don't think that this is going to see a lot of love. It is an Arc Linear Fusion, and we already have a God rolled version in the Storm Chaser. That pretty much outpaces this in any way, shape, or form. But if you're someone who does not have the duality dungeon and you need a linear fusion that is Arc, this is your ticket. The perk pool is fine. It's got Frenzy, it's got Focused Fire, it's got Clown Cartridge, it's got Rapid Hit, but honestly, this thing is going to be outclassed by Storm Chaser. You could pick this up and it would do pretty nicely for you. Again, not my top pick, not the thing I'm going to be focusing on specifically because Storm Chaser exists, which kind of makes this not really relevant. But I've been wrong before. Next up, we have our machine gun, another rapid fire frame. This one is Arc, which could see some actually good usage because they're going to buff LMGs this season. Now, am I going to use this over Thunderlord if I have the opportunity? Probably not. This is our first weapon that has the Slick Draw trait, which significantly increases handling while significantly decreasing the target acquisition. If this was something like the 21% Delirium, maybe I would use this, but again, the ammo capacity and the damage of LMGs has not been strong in the past. If that changes, this could be something you want to pick up and get a nice roll on. Ever dreamed of having a handheld cannonball loader? Well, look no further because you got Cry Mutiny. It comes with Incandescent, it's got Swashbuckler, and it comes specifically with mini frags. This is designed to fulfill that fantasy of being able to shoot cannonballs whenever you want, wherever you want. With Swashbuckler and Vorpal Weapon on this thing, could be a lot of fun to use, as well as Incandescent. It could be really good for clearing ads. This is our seasonal ritual weapon, so go into Crucible, Strikes, or Gambit to pick this up. But Mano, I'm a sweaty PvP tryhard. I don't want to play seasonal content. I just want to do trials and make my gaming chair smell like a gross locker room. Fret not, because we have trials weapons for this season. First up, we have the first trials bow, the Whistler's Whim. Now, folks, I'm going to tell you, I love bows, and I know some people hate bows. Unfortunately, this is going to maybe be a bow that you don't like. It has kill clip on it, which means that theoretically, you could get one tapped by this bow if someone procs kill clip. In addition, it's our first weapon that has gut shot. Straight aiming down the sights increases body shot damage, but it decreases target acquisition. So I'm not gonna lie to you folks, this could be really nasty inside of the Crucible. You could be just playing PvP from a distance and just get nailed. I honestly don't know how this bow is going to do, but if you are someone who actually plays into the bow fantasy and actually leans on it, this thing is something you must have. But if you're someone who wants to get up close and personal, we've got our first pinpoint slug frame, the Inquisitor shotgun. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this is a really good looking shotgun. I know that PvP tryhards are going to be going after this thing big time, looking for god rolls. With some really good shotgun options, this thing could be really, really nasty. The range is very, very solid. Put an adept mod on that and boom, you're at 93 range. This is also our first weapon that has the under over trait, where it deals bonus damage to targets with overshields. It deals a small amount of bonus damage to combatant shields. That's a really cool perk, but is it going to outplay opening shot or perpetual motion or something that helps to boost the range? Maybe not, but we'll have to tell. Those are the weapons you want to look for. Anything that can help you grant any kind of a range boost. Having 100 range here with the right perk could be really solid, but you'll also want to have really nice handling for your shotgun and your primary weapon that you're using as well. Of course, not everybody can be a trial sweat lord. Some people like to be PvE edge lords, and they live and breathe inside the Grandmaster playlist. Well, we have 3 new-ish weapons. So many people are going to scream and shout and celebrate because Mindbender's ambition has returned. But there is a massive caveat. It is not the same Mindbenders from before. While it's possible to put on a range mod on this, an adept range mod, get a range masterwork and boost up the range quite a bit, there have been a lot of changes to shotguns, and it's not the only game in town anymore. So this may not be the best shotgun in its slot. We'll have to do some shotgun testing and things like that. It does come with the amazing snapshot perk. It also has well-rounded and plus some other perks on there. Incandescent might be interesting if you want to use it inside of PvE. Will this become meta? I just don't know. I mean, it's not Forsaken anymore. There are so many shotguns in the sandbox that honestly, this might not outshine any of the other options that you might have. But the one thing that might push it over the edge is the Adept range mod that you might be able to get on this, or the Adept handling mod. Continuing the trend of weapons that are coming back that may not really be super solid, we've got the Militia's Birthright grenade launcher. It has the same problem that the Mindbender's Ambition has. There's just so many other grenade launchers in the game that do basically the same thing. There's nothing that really makes this thing stand out. It's a lightweight frame and it has a couple of pretty solid perks, but there's nothing that really pushes it over the edge. It's possible that they want you to lean into the idea of using this at close range. Again, we have the Pugilist trait, we have Swashbuckler, and auto-loading holster. Again, pretty good perks, but nothing is really going to make this thing stand out, I don't think. Ironically, the only thing that's really positive in my mind about this is that this is maybe a signal that the Lake of Shadows strike might be coming back to the Grandmaster playlist, which means that farming's back on the menu, boys. Next up, we have our Iron Banner weapons. We have the Allied Demand sidearm that is returning. Frankly, the sidearm doesn't excite me so much as the perks that are coming with it. There's some really solid perks with this sidearm that you can combine together to be really solid. Let's see if we can turn this thing into a little bit of a sniper rifle. Let's put on the Iron Reach and a rangefinder mod. Our range is pretty high. Again, if you get the range masterwork, this could be a really good solid option for those people who love sidearms. The only disadvantage, I think, is the amount of time that it takes for people to get in close. Now with Arc 3.0 movement tech, it's not going to be something that's really strong and something you don't want to rely on. I'd rather use a shotgun for really close ranges or fusion rifles, and then maybe sit back with a pulse or a hand cannon or something like that. Again, this isn't going to be that strong except on really close quarters maps. Oh boy, if you like returning weapons, then here you go. Roar of the Bear. It is kind of cool because this is a rocket launcher with comes with incandescent. You could also put on chain reaction. I don't really see this being any kind of a boss DPS weapon, maybe more instead of an ad clearing weapon that could be really solid if you're running any kind of solar stuff. But honestly, if you don't have a Hezen's Vengeance or you've never done Vault of Glass, hey, this weapon could do pretty well if you need a solar rocket launcher, and specifically if you don't want to use GJALLARHORN. If you want to keep an exotic slot and not use GJALLARHORN, this is probably your next best option outside of using something like Hezen's Vengeance. So if you refuse to jump into the Vault of Glass and hunt for the Hezen's Vengeance, and you need a solid legendary solar rocket launcher, boom shakalaka, Bob's your uncle, Roar of the Bear for you. Next up, we have a Gambit weapon that we haven't seen yet, and that's a pulse rifle, the Yesteryear pulse rifle. This is a void weapon, so if you don't have a grid skipper and you need a solid void option for a pulse, this is your pick. Now, it has a lot of good options that are new, like Under, Over, and Gutshot, but it also comes with Desperado. Now, I know Desperado isn't super duper strong, but it could still pretty decent with this adaptive type frame. Unfortunately, like most Gambit weapons, there are a bajillion perks, and of course, it's not a craftable weapon, meaning that you're going to have to hop into the purgatory that is the current state of Gambit. While I don't mind Gambit, I just don't want to feel held hostage by it. Honestly, I think a lot of players are going to look at this perk pool list and just be like, playing Gambit for a long extended period of time? Nope. For those people who are looking for a fun, chill strike experience, you've got the Pure Poetry hand cannon. While this hand cannon has a ton of perks just like the Yesteryear pulse rifle, the difference is there's so many different strikes to do inside the game, plus Grandmasters, this weapon naturally drops. Plus, it has the Under Over trait. Again, this could be really strong against players who are using overshields, specifically in PvP, a good way to counter them. This could be a weapon that a lot of people use inside of PvP. Just like last season, if you play any kind of strikes, whether they're Grandmasters, just basic Nightfalls, or things like that, you'll probably end up with a solid roll of this without even trying. Look for a high range version of this with that over-under perk, plus maybe well-rounded for a little bit of extra range or perpetual motion. So we've gone through Gambit, we've gone through strikes, and now we have the Crucible weapon that you'll get from drops or packages from the Crucible. We've got the Out of Bounds submachine gun. It is a lightweight frame, which is actually really nice, helps you with your movement speed, which is really nice with Arc 3.0, and it's an Arc submachine gun. Is this thing going to become meta? I don't know, but there's a lot of really good strong perks on them. Lots of the new perks plus rangefinder kill clip on this. If nothing else, this is a solid workhorse weapon that you'll naturally get from just playing some Crucible matches. Nothing major to look for here. You'll probably get something pretty solid. Look for tunnel vision, perpetual motion, or even dynamic sway reduction if you're on controller. This basically just reminds me of an SMG that happens to feel very much like the Crisis inverted hand cannon. It's not great, it's not terrible, just a solid workhorse weapon that could find its place in a decent spot in the Crucible. We've got a few more world drop weapons. We've got the Boudica C sidearm. What can I say? It's a sidearm. There are other sidearms that probably do the job a little bit better. This does have a couple of the newer perks like Gut Shot Straight, which is really nice if you want to try and get body shot damage and you're not good at hitting headshots. But all in all, a decent sidearm if you need something for that. Next up, for those poor guardians out there that maybe don't have a god tier Hero's Burden, we've got the Pizzicato 22. It's literally the same thing as Hero's Burden, except it doesn't come with Iron Reach. That's it. So it can't max out at extremely high ranges, but it does have some good perks like Rangefinder, Eye of the Storm, Fragile Focus, Threat Detector. It does have ricochet rounds and all the normal barrels and things like that. It's not a bad weapon, and if you don't have a good SMG in the kinetic slot to pair with a good energy weapon, this is your ticket. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what if you did not get a threaded needle from Season of the Chosen that was over a year ago? In some ways, this is better than that. We've got the Taipan 4FR. It's got a lot of really good perks on it. In fact, I think that this is actually better than the threaded needle for a number of reasons. Number one, it's craftable. It comes with a lot of really solid perks like Firing Line, Triple Tap, Clown Cartridge, Field Prep, Frenzy. A lot of these perks are really, really solid. If you want to go with a solo build, you could do something like Focused Fury, Triple Tap. If you've got Ensemble, Firing Line, or Clown Cartridge, Firing Line, or Triple Tap Firing Line, all great. And the best part about this, it's a Viced linear fusion, meaning that if you damage an enemy with that, it has a small chance to reload your magazine. I got this god roll when I was just bombing around on the first day. It has Ensemble and Firing Line, which synergizes really well because you get increased reload speed when you're around other people and you're going to be by other people with Firing Line, Enhanced Battery, Charge Time Masterwork. This thing is going to be a DPS machine inside of the raid. So I really recommend that you get your hands on this, especially if you've got a threaded needle. You could put this in your kit and honestly, it will be better because of that Vice Stinger perk. For those people looking to relive their Uriel's Gift or positive outlook life back in year one of Destiny 2, we've got the Amet AR2. Lots of really interesting perks, and it's also craftable. It's got adaptive munitions, Gut Shot Straight, a couple of the other new perks, just an interesting auto rifle that could find a little bit of love in your kit if you so desire. If auto rifles ever come back in any way, shape, or form, this auto rifle could actually do pretty well, as Uriel's Gift was very strong in year one of Destiny 2. Moving right along, we're going to go into our exotic armor pieces for the hunters. We have the Gear Falcon's Hauberk. The exotic proc is See Me, Feel Me. Your weapons gain a bonus to damage briefly after you emerge from being invisible. When you are invisible and defeat a combatant using a finisher, you and your nearby allies gain a reserve overshield and improved class ability regen. These reserve overshields can be deployed by using a class ability. Because of its ability to proc damage and get bonus damage, this thing is actually really strong right now. A lot of people are talking about how strong it is in PvP and also being able to use it in PvE as well. What's great about it is that you get more additional damage on top of the normal buffs and debuffs that you normally use in a PvE activity. So this could be actually really strong in the reprised version of the Kingsfall raid coming out later this week. Remember that these exotics can only be gotten by going and doing legend or higher lost sectors. Next up, we have something specifically tuned for Arc 3.0, and that is the Fallen Sunstar for the Warlocks. Ionic traces you create move faster and grant you additional ability energy. Nearby allies also gain ability energy when you collect an ionic trace. We're still in the opening hours of Arc 3.0, but I can easily see this becoming a very strong exotic, especially if you lean into the ionic trace builds and having people supercharge their speed and amplify themselves and getting supercharged so that they can move faster. This could be really strong, and the ability to get more ability energy with ionic traces, especially with your team, could be very strong. Now, Titans, I did not forget about you. Your exotic is the Point Contact Cannon Brace with Hammer of the Gods as the exotic perk. Defeating targets with your Thunderclap melee restores melee energy. Targets near you when you use your Thunderclap suffer lightning strikes. Being amplified increases the range of those lightning strikes. Could be really strong if you can get a build together to regenerate your melees, especially with your Thunderclap, giving other targets around you the suffer the lightning strikes and chaining that together. This thing is probably going to be very, very strong. All right, Mano, that's a lot of weapons. That's a lot of armor. But guess what? There's more. Now this season, you are able to craft all of the Dares of Eternity weapons. The only sticking point is that you'll have to go back into the Dares of Eternity or go to Xur's Treasure Hoard, turn in those keys to try and get red bars. If you need a new BXR 55 Battler, which is also a very good strong pulse rifle, or maybe you just want to craft some enhanced perks like Enhanced Eager Edge and see what it does, you can now do that. There is one more thing, however. As you go through all the patterns and catalysts, you will notice that there are a couple of weapons that are noted as secret triumphs. Those are more than likely going to be the new raid weapons from the reprised King's Fall raid. Right now in the secret triumphs in the patterns and catalyst, we have a hand cannon, we have a pulse rifle, a scout rifle, a fusion rifle, a sniper rifle, and a machine gun. If you saw the reprised raid trailer for Season of the Plunder, you saw a lot of those weapons. And given what we've seen and the slots that are open, we're going to be seeing the Zat-Wooley's Bane hand cannon, the Smite of Moraine pulse rifle, the Midas Reckoning fusion rifle, the Defiance of Yasmin sniper rifle, the Quillam's Terminus machine gun, and we'll definitely see the Touch of Malice. The real question is the Touch of Malice the only scout rifle, or will we also see the Doom of Chelchis? Is the Touch of Malice going to be a drop, or is it going to be something that we craft? We definitely see it in the trailer a number of times, so we know that it's going to be coming back. We just don't know how we're going to acquire it, whether it's an end of the raid drop or if it's something we craft. The very last weapon that we have for this season is going to be a sniper rifle that's going to be coming in Festival of the Lost. I'm really excited too, because potentially it could be like a legendary version of the Black Spindle or Whisper of the Worm. It's an aggressive frame, and if you look at it, it almost looks like the Black Spindle when you look at the hidden classified image. It does have a couple of perks that you can see. One of them is Search Party. This weapon is granted faster aim down sight speed and movement speed while aiming down sights where no allies are near, plus a pretty nice set of sniper perks here. We've got Snapshot, Moving Target, Opening Shot, Vorpal Weapon, Perpetual Motion. Lots of really interesting perks here, but of course it won't be revealed until Festival of the Lost. Maybe Crota's End will be coming then. We'll have to see. And with that, folks, that brings us to the end of the video. That is every single exotic and legendary weapon that is going to be coming inside of Destiny 2 in Season of Plunder. As always, if you're someone who wants to know more about Destiny 2, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more Destiny 2 content. I'll have a ton of guides and things coming up for this season, so make sure you don't miss out and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single one. As we all know, the YouTube algorithm needs a little bit of love, so give that like button a little bit of a click and then leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to inside of Destiny 2 with this season. Good hunting, everybody. I'll see you next time in the universe of Destiny.